Old houses in the markets district of Belfast, walls beginning to crumble and window frames crack. An area of great character and sense of community, but one with whole streets falling slowly but surely into decay. The wear and tear of 150 years finally takes its toll. Families have lived in the markets for generations, in houses that are only a few minutes' walk away from the hustle and bustle of the city centre. Every day of the week, a noisy flood of traffic pours right through the middle of the district. The drivers are intent on their own business, and few know anything of the quiet streets where the market's people live in an island haven set in the very heart of the city. Traditionally, many of them worked as dealers in the nearby market yards. That was until a few years ago, when the dealing stopped and the thriving businesses moved away to the outskirts of the city, leaving only memories behind.
I don't care where you go, what part of the world you go to, and I have been in a brave few parts. And there's no place where you go to like the market or ever will be like the market, because if there's homely in every sense of the word, when they knock the market all down, I don't know what they'll do.
Everyone knew that something would have to be done were the community to survive. Both local people and the housing authorities wanted to rebuild while still allowing the character of the old markets to be retained. So, with this in mind, many different people start the work of building up the new markets on the ruins of the old.
The city centre is here, the river Lagan is here, and the first lot of housings will be built on this.
This is a new road pattern, is it coming round here?
That's
to
correct.
feed
The housing will be here.
A team of architects has overall responsibility for planning the redevelopment. The first thing that they do is to make a detailed study of the area. A busy main road running down Crummock Street divides the markets in two.
Then is the intention to phase out of the existing...
Shops and factories can be built facing this road to keep the noise of cars and lorries away from houses. It is planned to rehouse 2,000 local people in just over 500 houses. Most of the houses will be newly built, though some of the old ones that are in good enough repair will be kept. The first of the new houses are to be built near Keegan Street. With the general outline of the plan worked out, a draftsman draws up more detailed plans. They are drawn to scale and must be very accurate. If a road is 1 inch out of place on the map, it could end up running through a block of houses. The designs provide for a variety of needs. There will be flats for old age pensioners and houses large enough for families of 6 or 8. Most will be for families with 2 or 3 children. The plans are drawn up so work can start on the business of changing the face of the district. People look out of their doors to see familiar landmarks disappear before their very eyes. The old crashes to the ground to make way for the new. Only memories remain of buildings where through the years thousands of people have come and gone. Before building can start, the site has to be surveyed by an engineer to find out if there are any variations in ground level. The theodolite measurements have to be very accurate, even though ground in the markets is flat. The area is just above sea level, so mistakes could lead to serious flooding of the drainage system. Work begins on laying out roads firm enough to carry the heavy lorries bringing all the bricks, blocks, concrete, stones and gravel needed to build the new houses. As far as possible, it's best to lay these new roads where the old ones ran. A base for curbstones is prepared with ready-made cement, brought to the site in a lorry that can carry a load of over 12 tons. That's nearly as much as the combined weight of 2 large elephants. The cement is kept in a gigantic revolving drum and then poured down a chute onto the ground, ready for the curbstones to be laid on top. The men are going to be kept busy. They've got 3 miles of curbstones to lay before the job's finished. When houses were originally built in the markets, all the digging had to be done with a pick and shovel. Nowadays, a powerful mechanical digger supplies the muscle needed to dig foundations that must be strong enough to support the full weight of a finished house. Another load of pre-mixed cement arrives, and a crane lifts it over a fence to the waiting trenches. The ground in this area is notoriously unstable. This is because most of the old houses were built on land reclaimed from mudflats that were often covered with tidewater. The ground is so soft and yielding that the cement has to be held in place by concrete piles reinforced with steel. The old houses were built on piles too, but the old piles were simply wooden beams driven into the soft ground. Not all cement comes ready-made. Smaller quantities are made up on the site every day from a mixture of cement, water and sand. This load of mortar is being made for bricklayers. The dumper truck is ideal for transporting cement around the muddy roads of the site. The bricklayers don't have the help of a crane to lift the heavy load. The mortar has to be carried up a long ladder in a hod. Before a new row of blocks can be laid down, a plumb line has to be set to make sure that everything is completely level. If this isn't accurate, the wall could end up with a built-in slope. A A skilled bricklayer can lay 1,000 bricks a day. He could finish a house by himself in 3 or 4 weeks. But bricklayers usually work in teams and on several houses at the same time. 15 to 20,000 bricks have to be laid in each house. The breeze blocks are made from cement and are being built up to form an inside wall. The outside wall will be made of red brick. When the bricklayers have built the walls to the right height, joiners come to put on the roofing timbers. This is called carcassing work, and the wood has to be strong enough to hold the full weight of concrete tiles. In this case, spruce, all the way from the forests of Canada, is being used. It takes 3 large trees to provide the timber for one house, so something like 1,400 trees have to be cut down to supply the needs of the redevelopment. They come to the markets from forests all over the world. The joiners also have to check the window frames to make sure that they fit snugly into the walls. A more durable European redwood is used because the frames are exposed to the wind and rain. The colour of tile was chosen to blend in with the slate roofs of the older houses. The tiles are nailed down to wooden laths which run in rows between the beams. If the tiler doesn't do his job properly, they could all blow off in a storm. With the house sheltered from the wind and rain, work can begin on the inside fittings. Soon the walls start to sprout tangled masses of wires. They run in the spaces between the floors and walls and are pulled out to the points where the switches will be. The electrician is left with the problem of deciding exactly where each one is to end up. The plumber fits all the water pipes running through the house, bending them to whatever shape he needs. With a household using as much as 250 gallons a day, he has to make sure that they too end up in the right place. Plumbers have to have long arms that are elastic enough to reach into the most awkward of places. So, with the basic services installed successfully, decorating can begin. A joiner cuts a section of skirting board to length. The skirting board, like other internal fittings such as cupboards and shelves, is made of soft Scandinavian whitewood. Hardwood, like mahogany from West Africa, is much more scarce and is only used for the stair rail. The skirting board is given an undercoat, which will give body and depth to the main coat of gloss paint. As the finishing touches are made to the paintwork, one of the architects visits the site to check that all the work is up to standard. He is accompanied by the clerk of works, who sees that all instructions are carried out in detail. Everything will have to be right before the house can be handed over to the housing executive and a new tenant can move in.
Now that's clean enough, that's that brickwork over there now is getting pretty dirty.
It is.
You're organising them to clean that.
Right, Mr. O'Reilly, you next, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The house has passed the test, and John O'Reilly arrives at the offices of the housing executive to sign the forms for his new home.
Street, and you have been allocated 32 Upper Stanfield Street.
That's correct,
That's grand. Well, I've got your papers ready for you. Would you have your first week's rent, Mr. O'Reilly, please?
Yes.
Sure your wife will be glad to get in before Christmas and get settled.
Inside the new district heating house, huge boilers whir into action. One boiler house provides central heating for all the new houses. The new chimney stacks gleam like space rockets. They're a far cry from the smoke-blackened chimneys of the old houses. With the central heating switched on and their first week's rent paid, the O'Reilly family can finally say goodbye to their old house in Keegan Street and hello to their new one in Upper Stanfield Street. It's something like 9 months since work began on this house. With the turmoil of moving behind them, the O'Reillys find time to sit down and reflect on their new home.
About the streets.
Well, that's the truth. That's
Alright.
the truth, yes. And when I come around here, they have more facilities, a bigger working kitchen where we can dine and entertain our visitors when they come.
A lot of people was telling me that they do most of their sitting out in their working
But
kitchens
sure
are that
now,
big, you know.
John, you should know.
Yeah.
And then come to each house individually and bless each house individually.
Yeah, that's good. What about you, Liam? How do you like the new house?
I think they're really a vast improvement in what we were living in. Especially having a bathroom now where you can have privacy for the good wives. And bigger
While
rooms.
the O'Reilly family seem to be very happy, not everything has gone well for others moving to the new houses. Representatives of the local community discuss some problems with the architects.
One of the most important things worth pointing out is that when such short notice is given, people for various reasons refuses to take houses. One is short notice, two maybe the wrong type of house.
Meetings between the architects and local people have been taking place since the beginning of redevelopment. They work closely together to ensure that the market's people have a say in what happens to their area. Everyone wanted to make sure that the character of the area wasn't lost. Now, with the first part of the redevelopment complete, most are happy with the blend between old and new. Instead of crumbling into decay, the markets can look to a bright future